I think we're live because, usually it does that spinny thing. Let me put this back on gallery view, back over here, and let me go find the video and test everything. Hold on. Let's make sure we're live.
I just got the notice.
Oh, I guess we're live. Oh, did you just hear the audio already?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, hold on. No, I'm looking at like the post where everybody's commenting that they're going to be here. Hi guys, I swear I have my shit together. I will find you. One moment. There we are. Okay. Okay, yes. Okay, so let me get this open. Oh yeah, I see them starting to come in. Hi guys. Hi. Hold. I'm still setting up Facebook. 1 second. Okay, Zenya's telling us we're a go. All right, awesome. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. I did not realize it was Martin Luther King Day when I set up my schedule for today, but we're here and the group has been lit today. So, welcome to all the new members. I have a really, really special program for you guys today. I am bringing on Adina of Immigrant Finance, who is one of our clients who did over $13,000 in sales in December. So we're going to talk about it. But before getting into it, I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to get on because we know how this goes. Hey, Rebecca. Hello. And let's give some shout outs because we have some congratulations. We've had 3 people join us in Persuade to Profit Live last week. We have Stacy Elridge, we have Claudia Miller, and we have Jessica Marcy, who all have joined us in Persuade to Profit Live. Yay! They will be joining Rebecca, who is already in the comments saying hi to us. And you guys already know the drill. So if you're new, put new in the comments. If you're watching on the replay, put replay in the comments so we can come properly say hello later. And if you are in Persuade to Profit and you are watching and you are here and you are live, then make sure to put profiteer in the comments and represent. I already see Rebecca. I know Tanya's going to be here. Adina is obviously streaming with us. Adina put profiteer in the comments. Thank you. And that's basically it. So the way client interviews go, they're a little bit different, guys. So usually I'm on here and I'm like doing a training and I'm teaching, but with the client interviews, I basically let them take it away. And I basically ask them questions. So you guys get to see like there's people just like you who are getting amazing results. And then at the end, what we'll do is if you have any questions, type them in the comments. And if you have any questions, we'll get to them at the end. I just kind of want to stay focused so we don't go all over the place. And then final thing, we are running out of spots for complimentary sales strategy sessions. If you have not had a complimentary sales strategy session, meaning you've never spoken to me ever, the link is in the description. All we need is like 20 to 30 minutes, and we're going to get really crystal clear on what's going on with the sales in your business and how to fix it. So the link for that is in the description. Xenia, if you're watching, can you drop it in the comments well, of course, Xenia's watching. Can you drop it in the comments for people as well? Okay, all the housekeeping stuff is out of the way. Yay. Are you guys ready to hear how Adina did $13,000 in sales in December 2020? By the way, December is a month when coaches are told that there's no money to be made in December. No one's spending money in December. Everyone's going to wait until January. It's absolute bullshit. I did $50,000 in sales in December, and Adina is over here doing $13,000 in sales in December. And when I got the email, I was super psyched. I was like, yes. Okay, Adina. So can you do a quick introduction for people and just let them know who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to connect with you all. I'm Adina. I run the immigrant finance platform. So I provide group coaching on personal finance and increasing income, investing, all of that to immigrants and family members of immigrants. And I'm also an immigration lawyer in my day job. It's an issue really personal to me. I'm married to an immigrant, so I've gone through all this personally with my husband too. And just as the lawyer, one thing I just wanted to clarify, it was 13,000 November and December, but
Okay,
but still, like it was beyond what I ever expected.
cool.
It was
Awesome.
over 2 months. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, so when you joined Persuade to Profit, what was it that you were struggling with? Because you'd kind of already started immigrant finance. It was like in its baby stages, right? So what was it that you were struggling with that made you join Persuade to Profit? What was going on?
Yeah, well, Amanda, you really helped me come up with the idea in the first place in one of your complimentary coaching calls. Like when we first spoke, I just knew I was really interested in online business and learning how to use tech better and having a creative outlet for a while. I had felt like I lost my creative side becoming a lawyer, and I was following your podcast and just loved everything you were saying. I just didn't know how to do it, or if it was even possible for me. So getting to connect with you and like learn more what I could be doing. I then like did really want to do the program, but I actually recommended it to like everyone I knew who could be a good fit except myself because I didn't see myself yet that way. I always laugh and tell people like I actually went and met you in person, remember, in
Oh yeah, she
Miami?
did. Yes. So Adina came to Miami. This is when I was still living in Brickell, pre-pandemic, guys,
Yeah.
pre-pandemic. And we got to say that now. And she was actually in Miami. I don't remember if you DM'd me or texted me or what it was, but you're like, "Hey, I'm in town for a case, right? Do
Yeah.
you want to go hang out?" I'm like, "Yeah, awesome. I know this great bar on Miami Beach. Let's go." And little did I know that Adina was sizing me up the whole time. I had no
Totally.
idea.
I mean, I don't know if I knew. Like, I just, like, I obviously really wanted to do the program and was terrified and like was just we talk about now in the program I do with you, we work a lot on mindset, like how your brain does these logical things to try to like stop you from growing, and that was totally what was happening. I just was like coming up with all the reasons why this wasn't going to work, and it did really help meeting you, but you were exactly the same as you were on your podcast and on email and talking on the phone. It was nothing different.
That is like the greatest compliment I get when people are like, "Wow, you're the same in person that you are on your podcast or on live videos." And I'm like, "Well, who the hell else would I be?" But I have
Yeah.
had instances where like, you think a person's like a certain way on their podcast or on their videos, and then you're like huge fans, and then you meet them in person and they're a total disappointment. So I
Yeah.
have had that experience. So now I understand why people say that and why that's such a big deal. So thank you. That's like literally the best compliment we can get.
I'm glad. Yeah, and I had never invested in myself really in anything significant. And so this was the first time. And so I think a lot of it was like me getting to a place where I could be comfortable with that and be ready. And at a certain point, when you see yourself like recommending something to everyone else, like you have to start questioning, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
you sent Elisa our way, and Elisa is
yeah,
another one of our superstar stories. I'll get Elisa to do an interview for you guys as well. But Adina sent Elisa over, and Elisa went from like doing what she calls free emotional labor for 3 years to like starting to make good money for the things that she does. So I'll get Elisa to do an interview too. But yeah, basically Adina was like recommending all her friends to the program, but wasn't buying it herself. So what made you finally bite the bullet and do it?
um, it's hard to say because I've done a couple programs with you now. So the first time, I can't really remember, just that it was like at a point where I was trying to just figure it out my own and like be strong and look things up, and it was just taking forever and I wasn't getting anywhere. And so I just finally bit the bullet, I think.
So, okay, so how did that the things that you were struggling with prior to Persuade to Profit, how is it making you feel? Because I know that part of your struggle was this idea, well, you were afraid of getting found out at your job. I think that was a part of
Yeah.
it. um, but you have really struggled with, and I know a lot of people in the group struggle with this, but you have really struggled with this idea of like putting yourself out there.
Totally.
And let's start there. So like
Yeah.
what was that about? Like what was going on there?
I mean, it's still a thing. I think it probably always will be, but like I'm slowly getting the courage to be more visible. I just started a podcast thanks to your support in the program I'm doing with you now. But yeah, I think like there was just these overwhelming feelings of fear, of imposter syndrome, fear of judgment. I had to work on it for a really long time, for years, and different ways. And honestly, I lost out on a lot of opportunity and money in the meantime by like waiting to figure it out. I wish it could happen faster, but yeah, I just like was so worried what other people would think. Basically, as a lawyer, you know, to do an online business, it's very unconventional, and it's like probably looked down upon by other lawyers. So I was just concerned that like I had spent all these years working up my reputation in my day job career, and like what was this thing I was doing, and just didn't feel comfortable myself.
Okay, and then there was something else. Basically, like you were well, yeah, that is imposter syndrome, where people are like you're a fraud, or like in your words, you literally were like, well, who's this white lady talking to me about like immigrant finances? Like you were
Yeah.
really concerned with like the judgment people would have if you put yourself out there. So
Yeah.
like how how did that stop you? Because I know that there's lots of people here who struggle with that. I know you mentioned that you missed out on a lot of opportunities, but like, how is this actually like affecting your life not to move past this and not to figure out the online business side of things?
So many different ways. I think the main is that like it stopped me from exploring this creative potential I had that was clearly already there. And I've learned from junior coaching that like when you have an idea and it's like already there and alive and like it needs to happen, you know, basically. And so I was putting the brakes on that for a while and could have lost that idea and opportunity. Like thank God I finally moved on it. But yeah, it was really hard for me to wrap my head around these like concerns that my scared logical brain was making. And like you mentioned, the you know, fearing what other people would think of like, who am I, this white lady to talk to immigrants? And I had to go through a lot of personal discovery to like figure out, no, this is an issue that's actually affected me personally. Like even though it's my husband who's the immigrant, like we're a family and like finances affect both of us. And I've had to talk in therapy about these issues. And like there's a lot I've learned over the years that I can help people with to minimize that pain. And what really changed things was when like I finally got started and it actually helped people and could see the change on their lives. Like that just made a lot of the fears lessen because you can see when it's you're actually working with real people that like this is something that you can do to help people and make an impact.
Can you talk a little bit? Because I know a lot of people in the group struggle with this as well. You come from a nonprofit background, right? And we have a lot of people here who come from nonprofit backgrounds. We have people who come from healing backgrounds. We have people who have been through like their own stuff with personal finance, for example. And I find that people who come from these particular backgrounds, and you struggled with this, so I would love for you to talk about it. They think everybody's broke. They
Mhm.
think either everybody's broke or they shouldn't be made, or they feel really guilty about making money for helping people. So I know that's something you've
Oh yeah.
struggled with in the past. So can you speak to that a little bit for anybody who might be feeling that way now, where they're like, "Hey, I'm sitting on this great idea, but like I've been told I shouldn't make money doing this, or I've been told it's not okay, or like I help people with personal finance, and people who with personal finance are broke, or like I shouldn't be
Yeah.
charging money." Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know a lot of people in this group struggle with that.
Oh my God, it's been a huge barrier, ongoing and always has been. Yeah, I think like in the nonprofit world, you are taught to be a martyr. You're taught to like see people as like vulnerable or victims, and that takes away a lot of their power. And that really got exacerbated by me being a nonprofit immigration lawyer during the Trump administration. Like, not to bring politics into it, but that obviously was a significant experience for me as an immigration lawyer, and seeing how people were being affected and just the powerlessness of the system and like working in within current systems and nonprofit structures is really depressing. And I got to a point where like I needed a more positive way to empower people, and I couldn't do it in the nonprofit context. It just wasn't happening. So I that was part of the desperation of like what finally got me started, because I was just like, I need this outlet in order to keep fighting as an immigration lawyer right now. I need a way to be able to help empower people where I'm not just like defending them from attacks, but I'm helping them learn how to own their power and take control of their lives and make decisions that can put them in a better position.
That was so beautiful. And I have to say that one of the things I love about you, and everybody in Persuade to Profit really has this, is like there's always a bigger meaning and a bigger mission behind things. And then that's what really drives you. And when I teach sales, and Adina can attest to this, I'm always like, guys, you need conviction. Okay. That is the one thing I cannot teach you about sales. You either have it or you don't. Right. And that really comes from being very connected. To the mission and the purpose. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody put it quite as eloquently as you did right now, that sometimes you come from certain industries. And I come from traditional personal finance. I built a whole brand as a personal finance expert before I started teaching marketing and sales systems. And even though it wasn't to the extreme that you saw at your job as an immigration attorney, I mean, I could definitely see how even in that industry it's really disempowering in a lot of ways. And our systems do see people as victims. And it kind of, you're right, it does take away their power. And I just want to acknowledge that because I haven't heard anybody put it quite so eloquently like you have. And, those of you who are here watching this and your coaches, a lot of you tell me all the time, I'm here to empower people, right? I'm here to help people. And sometimes you have to be outside of the system to do that. And I think if the last year, I mean, for a while, but let's just take the last year with everything that's been going on. Yeah, we definitely need people out there empowering people. Like, we definitely need coaches. We definitely need people with programs. We definitely need people with a different type of message, because whatever we've been doing before obviously is not working. So thank
Yeah.
you for putting that so eloquently. Okay, so what changed for you after you joined Persuade to Profit? Now, in total context, guys, Adina joined a couple years ago. She's done a live version. She's done like sales training with me one on one, and she's also now in our mastermind. But like, if you could remember back then, right? And then we'll just
Yeah.
like go through the sales training stuff specifically because everybody's always asking about the sales training.
Mhm.
Um, what started to change after you joined Persuade to Profit?
Can I just add one more thing on what we were just saying?
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Because there was this thing that you said to me, I think that got me actually, this is what got me to sign up. I remember exactly where I was. There was something you said that was really powerful. And I've told it to you a few times and you're like, I don't remember saying that, but like I could predict everything. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, one of my prophecies. Yeah, you're talking about
Yeah.
one of my prophecies. Guys, Adina let me know that apparently I can predict shit because I do not
Yeah.
remember saying this to Adina, but I wouldn't be surprised if I said it to Adina. And Xenia's here in the comments. I have said Xenia works for me. Xenia can tell you, like, I have a knack for predicting things. And when everything hit the fan last year, Xenia literally within like 4 weeks of everything hitting the fan last year, Xenia was like, oh my God, everything that you said would happen since you've hired me is happening. It's happening right now. Like, I'm seeing it. And then literally maybe like a week later of that happening, Adina was like, so you told me this. And then that's what got me to join Persuade to Profit. And I was
Yeah.
like, I said, what? So what was it that I
Yeah.
told you?
I remember exactly where I was. I was at work. It was like early on in the administration, and it was like things were really, really dark. And I was on my lunch break, just like taking a walk outside and just so miserable, seeing how dark things had become. And you just said to me, you're like, you know what? The world is gonna crash and burn. Like
When did I
every,
say that? 2017, I said that to you, that the world is going to crash and burn.
I think it was 2018.
2018, I said
It
that.
was
Yeah,
whenever
at
I
that.
joined, which is I think 2018.
Yeah,
Um,
2018. I was already started, like, I hired Xenia 6 months later because I already knew like shit was gonna hit the fan eventually.
yeah,
Like, I was already sensing it. Guys, I did not know it was gonna be a pandemic and a total shutdown and everything we've seen in the last year. But I had been sensing stuff for a while. I'm pretty intuitive, cat's out of the bag. But I
yeah,
was not aware that I was when I said this to Adina. So sorry, I cut you
yeah.
off.
And we were talking about the topic I wanted to do my online business on, and how like there weren't a lot of people talking about personal finance for immigrants and why it was so important. And I said something like, you know, Amanda, there's just like this whole big mission I want to do. It's not just finance. Like I want to like help empower people at this level and all this stuff. And you were just like, kind of, first of all, start with this, but second of all, the systems we know are crashing and getting destroyed right now. And like, we're going to need new leaders to rebuild things, and things are going to look completely different. And like, basically that's you. And I was just like, oh my God, like she's right. Cause I felt that happening too. And I knew that from all my over researching all this, like starting my own online business was the only way that seemed potential that I could do that. It wasn't going to happen in my day job in the current system. Um, I I realize I'm entrepreneurial, like I have to do it myself, and I needed that freedom to just really create from nothing. So that's when I joined.
I want to piggyback off of that for a second because I think it's still true. Like, obviously, the world is crazy and
Yeah.
systems are falling apart. I mean, it was already happening when Adina joined Persuade to Profit, but now, I mean, come on, if you can't see it now,
Yeah.
like now it's obvious, right? I think it still rings true. And one of the things that I find so fascinating about you and Sylvia and, people who'd already been kind of thinking about these things and had already basically started paying attention to what was going on, I find that those who took the time to position themselves have actually done really well in the last year or so. Like, you guys are thriving. Or I can even speak for myself that I started making huge changes in my business. Like, I even made changes to Persuade to Profit to add more sales stuff to it since you joined originally. And like, I mean, the amount of attention we've gotten in the last year just because we were already in position. Or look at this Facebook group. Like, this Facebook group already has over 1,000 people in it, and we just started it, and most of it's been organic, so I find that people who listen to that inkling, right? They listen and they're like, okay, something's changing, something's going on. I know I have a message, and let me put myself in position. Those are the ones who end up doing well when shit hits the fan, right? Or those are the ones that, when they have that realization when shit's hitting the fan, which a lot of people have had that realization in the last year, um, and they start putting themselves in the position and they start figuring stuff out, they're the ones who come out of this kind of stuff thriving. Like,
Mhm.
I fervently believe there will be millionaires and billionaires on the other side of this pandemic, right? I think we're going to see, this is one of my predictions, guys. I'm still like awkward talking about them. I think people are in a position where they have to rely on self-reliance more than ever. And I think we're going to see more
Yeah.
self-reliance than ever. And I
Yeah.
think people are really fucking tired of systems that are not working for them. And this is not a political thing, left or right or anything. I mean, I think this is just across the board, right? People are fucking tired, right? And they're seeking alternatives. They're seeking for people like you to help them because they know stuff just is not working, right? Look at the last year, like, people have lost jobs like crazy, right? Or I mean, someone was telling me I'm not going to say what it was. She was telling me some crazy stuff that was going on at her job because of the pandemic. But I don't have permission to share that, so I'm not. But like, look at the last year where people are like, okay, the government's not going to take care of me. My employer's not going to take care of me. The systems are not in my favor, right? Which I know a lot of people here are very well aware of the fact that the system's not in your favor, right? And I find that the ones who really wake up to that, especially in times like this, and you're in that first 1/3 of people, like, it's like that the freaking heavens part for you, and everybody wants to talk to you, and you're sitting on such a massive opportunity to really change the world but also make money. Because if you have a
Mhm.
big mission in life, it has to be supported by resources. I fervently believe this, right? And
Yeah.
I believe, Adina, that's actually one of the reasons you've done so well, right? Is because you have a really big mission. And I don't know if you believe this or not yet, right? You'd have to tell me. But like, people with big missions need to be supported by the universe.
Yeah, well, I've learned from you that this idea that you need resources to make an impact, and like it's helped me a lot also in my nonprofit job. In that role, like I've actually won a lot of grants since I started working with you, because I
Adina
understand.
also got a promotion when she joined Persuade to Profit originally. At her, she's like, so I like negotiated this promotion. I was like, great, that stuff happens too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not always like your business right away. Like, sometimes people take what's in it and then apply it to their jobs and make more money, which I love.
Totally. It was one of the books you told me about that really sealed the deal. Yeah.
I didn't know you'd gotten a bunch of grants too. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's like the money's been rolling in because I understand now it takes resources to make change. And that's also helped me with getting more comfortable charging in my online business, even though I had never charged anyone anything for my whole career working in nonprofits, because I'm starting to understand better that, like, first of all, everyone needs to invest in themselves. And second of all, like, I need those resources to reach more people. Like, I invested $2,000 in our business last month. I didn't realize it was a bunch of small things that added up. Um, Hopefully not gonna be doing that again. It was some system stuff I was prioritizing. But like I couldn't do that if the business wasn't profitable, you know? And so I am in a more confident position to be able to explain that now when people question me for charging and having a high ticket program. Yeah. And sorry, you were asking me about what it was like to join Persuade to Profit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, joining it, I mentioned how like I really fought it for a long time. I just want to say the experience of joining that versus the mastermind program later. So Persuade to Profit, I fought it and was like terrified of investing in myself for a really long time and lost a ton of money and time in the process. But once I understood this thing we were just talking about with like it takes resources to grow and make an impact, by the time I was ready for more support and the mastermind, it was like I thought about it for a day and then it was a very easy decision. I didn't overthink it and like quickly made the money back. So I wish I had known that earlier, joined earlier. But yeah, once I joined it, it was really helpful. Because I was totally new to business and like charging money. I do have to say it took me quite a while for a lot of the concepts to process. So I didn't really like start pushing out the business and an offer probably for at least a year or even two
Yeah,
years.
but within that year, you were getting a raise in grants, so I'll let it slide. Like
Exactly.
you were
Yeah. And
applying it at your job.
I was like coming around and like I spent a lot. I think the market research part of your program like ended up happening for a long period because I didn't really know what I was doing or what I was offering and like wasn't clear about that. But going through the process, I think I went through Persuade to Profit even a couple times, and it helped give me that framework to get there and understand it.
Yeah, and whereas when you join Persuade to Profit, you have it forever. So like Adina joined a couple years ago, she has access to all the updates, right?
Yeah,
Like I don't charge you guys more money later for the updates because A, it's too complicated, and B, why? So
yeah,
it's lifetime access. So and it's for those reasons. Like you will have to go back and listen to some of these concepts over and over again. I mean, I'm definitely in programs where I have to do that. I'm redoing a program that I joined a year ago because I have to re-listen to certain concepts and I'm seeing them in a new way. Okay. So you already mentioned some of these, but I guess streamline it. And I know like Diana just joined us. We just had a few people join us. So like what results did you start getting after Persuade to Profit? Can you just streamline it? Cause like I didn't know about the grants. I'm still on the
yeah.
grants,
Like just
right?
understanding money and business more. Like yeah, like I said, was able to start winning a lot of grants in my day job in a nonprofit, negotiate a promotion, and like for that it was really more believing in myself and like having more confidence and ownership. It was something I had to fight for that I should have gotten a long time before that, and it was resisted, and I was just like, you know, I know my value more because that the program really taught me that. It definitely helped. Like I think the most important thing for me was like provide an outlet for this creative energy I had, this entrepreneurial energy I had that I wasn't accessing in my career, or it was in different ways, not the way I wanted to be. And so just like a way to explore all that. And I know you always say like starting a business is like therapy. So like it helped me work through just a lot of stuff around my value, confidence, like fight through different insecurities, fear of judgment, imposter syndrome were really big things that aren't as much anymore, although they rear their ugly head. Um,
Every time Adina up levels that, but now she knows the game. Now she
yeah,
knows what's going on. Yeah.
now I know that's normal.
Yeah. So you also had this interesting experience last year when you were like, no one's buying my stuff. And then I told you to double the price, and then suddenly everybody started buying it up. So can you speak to that for a second? Because there's lots of people here. Like, I know there's people watching this right now who undercharge. So can you speak to that for a second?
Yeah, I was completely undercharging, like embarrassing the amount. And like I did it because I didn't believe in myself and the offer yet. And I just wanted to start and like have real people I was working with. And then like I was able to get people initially, and then like the next round, it just started getting really, really hard to sell. And you helped me see that by doing that, people were missing out on this value I offered because they might have been assuming it was cheap or not valuable because of the price. And I also learned about how, like, when you invest in something, you have more skin in the game, you're more likely to show up to calls. And that's totally been the case. Once, thanks to you, I started charging a bit more. The people in the program, in my
It
program,
wasn't a bit more. You doubled it, like
oh yeah, more
from
than
what you had.
doubled, more
Oh,
than
more than
doubled.
doubled. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The people in my program started like taking it very seriously, and like showing up and taking notes while I was talking. I was like, oh shit, they're listening, you know? um, so yeah, it made a huge difference, and it did start to get easier to sell, as well as the other things you recommended have helped a lot, like particularly building influence.
So, how do you feel now that the ball is rolling? Because you're starting to get consistent sales. Like, you've got your podcast. I think you mentioned when you lost your podcast, people were already reaching out to you and be like, "Hey, how do I work with you?" Right?
Yeah.
How do you feel now that the ball is rolling? Because you're making all this extra money on the side of your job, which is
Yeah.
awesome, right? So, how do you feel now that immigrant finance is getting attention and it's making money and the ball is rolling and things are starting to flow?
I would say that like the insecurities I have are still there and they still come up, but I feel like they're are more equal footing with my understanding too that I'm doing something valuable. So there's another narrative that is playing a key role here. And it's just been incredible to actually work with people and have a more structured program where I can really provide value and help change people's lives. And like seeing it, when I see it happening to actual people, that's when the fears start to go away. I'm like, this is all worth it, even though I'm scared to be visible, it's worth it because look at this person's life now. Like I have several examples now of people in totally different positions in their life from going through my program. And so that has given me a lot more confidence. Personally, like it has also helped a lot with just like fears that me and my family would never be able to have options and choices. Like we want to have a bigger house so that our daughter can like play outside in the backyard and we can get a dog, and like now we can be saving for a down payment in a way where it's not going to take like 10 years, like maybe we can do it pretty quickly. So that's really, really exciting. And we're looking at houses, and really being in a place where we can actually pursue the life we want because of this online business and the opportunities.
Yeah, and actually there's two things. So I remember no, you weren't, it wasn't an email. I think you posted in the client group something about like when the election was going on because you live in
Yeah.
DC,
Yeah.
right? And you were like, I'm leaving DC. I'm going to a cabin. I'm not going to be around. Thank you, Amanda, because we have the money to just like
Yes.
book it out of here while everything's crazy and I'm going to go relax in a cabin somewhere. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was a cabin.
Yes, it was a cabin overlooking a river. It was amazing. That was something I simply would not have been able to afford. I mean, my husband and I both work at nonprofits. Well, he used to. He's now in private too, but but yeah, it's just something we like. Every response to every opportunity was always like, we can't afford it. And now, I mean, I still had those fears when we thought about going on a trip and leaving DC during the election, but I was able to listen to the voice that you've taught me to listen to of like, think about abundance, think about like what would a successful business owner do, and like what's best for me and all of this, and was able to just pull the trigger and do it. It was really nice.
How did it feel?
It felt so good. I mean, we still like I would still sneak and look at my phone what was happening at the election because I was freaking out. But I got to just like step away and like think about other things, look at nature, and just like enjoy time with my family during this time when the old me would just have been like sitting in a pool of anxiety, staring at my phone, miserable, you know?
Well, yeah, because of your job too, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
your job is very tied to what's going on politically.
Yeah. And like if it hadn't gone well, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I don't think I could have kept going fighting in the nonprofit space, just how dark things had gone. And like knowing I have this other option to pursue if shit goes down, like that is very freeing.
Yeah, and I think that's what Diana and I talked about today. Diana's here in the comments where she's like, I want an option because shit's going down and I want an option before it gets worse.
Yeah.
I think was the book I recommended to you Overcoming. No, you read To Sell
Yeah.
is Human, right?
No, overcoming unlearning.
Oh, I just recommended that to Diana earlier today.
That's how
I
I got
recommend
a
that book to
promotion.
everybody. Yeah, I recommend. So that's how Diana, that's how Adina got a promotion was by reading that book that I recommended to you earlier today. I recommend that book to everybody. I've had to read it 3 times. I think I might have to read it again as I'm like up leveling again. It's always good to revisit. Okay, so what would you say to someone? And then we're going to open it up for questions, guys. But what would you say to someone who is like, okay, I really want to join Persuade to Profit. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, where the fuck is this money going to come from? Like, I'm scared of the investment. I'm scared to invest in my business. And you were like that. You'd never invested anything in your business before. And I know there's people watching here that's where they're at right now. So, what
Yeah.
would you say to those people who are like, I want to do it, but I'm like terrified of doing it. I've never invested this in my business. Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I had never invested in my business or myself. And so starting to see yourself as someone valuable that's like worth investing in is a huge mindset shift that is really, really important. That will help you get there. So I've already vouched for Amanda many times. I've got on the phone and talked to one potential client who's now a colleague in our program to
She
be
did
like,
do that.
yeah. And I told her, I
Guys,
was
you want
like,
to be so good clients are selling on your behalf. Sylvia did one of those last week too, where she got on the phone with someone.
yeah,
That
happily,
yeah,
like
happily do that.
you've made such an impact for me. And um, I mean, I think you're brilliant, Amanda. I tell you all the time. And I'm just at a point where I'm like, I'm just gonna do whatever she says. And I am not someone who's like that. I'm very
No, she's
skeptical of
not. Remember,
people.
she sized me up first.
Yeah, like I went and met you in person to like see if it was legit, and I'm very skeptical. I don't like group think. Like when everyone says to do something, I do the opposite. But like you are one of those very rare people who has a lot of wisdom, and the results are very clear. I've seen it with myself, with several other people you've worked with. So I would just say like just take a chance and just do what Amanda says.
Take a chance on you, guys. Bet on yourself. That's what I think that's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah. But like also just listen to what she says. It'll
Thank
help
you.
you. You help me like listen to myself, and so much of business is just like personal development. So it's been a lot of that as well. And like I said before, like with the first Persuade to Profit program, I really resisted it. But like by the time I was ready for the program I'm in now, like I barely questioned it because I understood you have to invest to grow, you have to take risks, and that like I knew I would make the money back quickly, and I did.
Yeah, guys, you have to trust that if you implement what you're being taught, that's the thing that I tell people all the time. And that's also one of the reasons why we have such a Actually, can you speak to this? Because you've done a lot of sales training with me. One of the reasons we go so hard on sales in Persuade to Profit is because that's the thing that gets the money in the bank. And I'm going to get a little bit on my soapbox right now, guys, but I'm so fucking tired of having conversations with you guys. And you've spent thousands of dollars on programs and no one taught you how to sell. Like it literally irks my soul and irritates the hell out of me. And you can ask Adina because I complain. I went on a little mini rant about it on the mastermind call this morning, right? But that shit irks my soul. It really does, because that's the thing that leads to money in the bank. And that's why I go so hard on it in Persuade to Profit, you know. And Adina's also done a private sales training with me. So can you speak to the sales training specifically? Because I feel like that's the thing that most other programs, quite frankly, are missing, that we're just exceptional at. And like I said, I'm literally tired of hearing women have spent thousands of dollars and no one taught them how to sell.
Yeah. And this was before it had been, I think, integrated in Persuade to Profit. And I was just at a point like I had my offer. I knew people were willing to buy because I had done it a couple of times. I had gotten clients, but I was just struggling so much with the sales and I knew I needed help in that area. I just did not have the skill set. And so the intensive I did with you, which I think is like a lot of the same content that's now in the sales training.
Yeah. So what I did with you is now in the level 2 sales training. Yeah. So it's
It
in
was
Persuade to
just
Profit now.
it was super practical, which is for me how I learned best. And I got to just be like, well, what do I do when they say this? Or like, what's the first thing I say when I message them on Instagram? Just like super practical and detailed. And that made it for me a lot more understandable. And we really went through like step by step what you have to do in the process and how to conduct a call, a sales call, why you need to get them on the phone in the first place. Like I didn't understand I had to do that. So I was just like reaching out to people, not hearing anything. Or just being like, hey, doing what you call the basic bitch sales, you know? Like just being like, hey, do you have any questions?
Basic bitch sales. Yeah. We don't do basic bitch sales for those of you who are new. I've seen lots of new people watching. I'm very anti-basic bitch sales.
Yeah. Or like before I'd be like, hey, let me know if you're interested, like not hear anything. And I did understand. I just had no idea what to do. So it gave me a clear framework of what to say, how to respond when common things were coming up. And the common objections that you teach are actually ones that do come up frequently from with me with my clients. And I think with others too, it seems pretty universal.
It's universal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the same ones. I can't afford it. I need to think about it. Let me go talk to my spouse. What's the other? I think those are the 3 main ones. It's like I need to think about it and I can't afford it. Are usually the main. Oh, not a good time. Yeah, that's one. I teach you guys how to deal with all that stuff in Persuade to Profit. And again, I go really hard on sales because that's the thing that gets the money in the bank. When you did the intensive, how quickly did you make that return? Because you made it back pretty fast.
Oh yeah, I think like I was on a like a what's it called? I want to say like shopping spree, but like a spree. Whatever. I made a ton of sales like the 2 weeks after.
It was like 8,000.
Yeah, it was something crazy. Because I was just like on fire directly applying what you learned. Then the insecurities creep back in. We talked about the wave that happens, you know. So I have been in the process where like having to constantly go back to the training and the mindset stuff and insecurities. But this year, that's one of my resolutions to just like not get there in the first place. And we've been talking about that. Like, yeah. So hopefully it will happen less.
It'll happen less, right? You get used to it over and over again. Okay, guys, do you have any questions for either me or Adina? Usually when I'm talking to clients, I like kind of shine on them. But do you have any questions about marketing, sales, your own business right now? Anything that we can help you with in the next 15 minutes or so? And in the meantime, I'll just remind you guys once again, we did sell out for Persuade to Profit for February, the live cohort of the program. By the way, spoiler alert, next week's training is going to be how to have a 6-figure launch, right? My team and I decided it earlier today. Like we're going to do it. So stay tuned because we're going to say how I made 6 figures off of one launch in the last few weeks. So spoiler alert, that's for next week. And so we sold out for that one. We're currently figuring out the schedule for the next one. I think it's going to be April 15th, I think around there is when we're doing the second one. We do start enrolling early because this thing sells out. Like we sold out of the February cohort a month in advance. So I would not wait for that stuff. What I would do is I would just book a call with me. If you haven't spoken to me already and you're interested in joining Persuade to Profit, the link is in the description to book a complimentary sales strategy session with me. If you've already spoken with me and you're like trying to figure out the money, how do you have a 6-figure launch? I'm going to discuss that next week, Diana. That'll be the training. Yeah, that'll be the training for next week, Diana. So I know you guys are going to ask a lot of questions about that. So I decided to do a specific training just for this free group on that. Those of you who are trying to figure out how to get the money to get into Persuade to Profit, figure it out and get in here. Thanks, Diana. You can kill it too. We had a conversation this morning. I literally used to make 22 grand a year, right? Because I was a recruiter, so I had a really low base, and then I was supposed to get commissions. But you know, when you're recruiting in a fucking recession like I was, like you're not really making money, right? And you know, on Friday I did $33,000. You know, so I can make way more money in a day than I used to make in a month, and I used to be an under earner. I used to really, really, really struggle with that. I mean, I think it took me 6 or 7 years to get to 6 figures, but a lot of it was just because, well, A, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but B, it was that under earning tendency, right? So if you guys want to learn about the 6-figure sales cycle, the 6-figure launch, then we're going to cover that more next week. But it's mostly mindset. Like I'm just going to tell you right now. But I'm not one of these coaches because there's a lot of new people here. I'm not one of these coaches who only focuses on mindset and the woo woo stuff. Like I'm all about the mindset and the woo woo stuff, but I actually teach you the practical side as well. Like, hey, how do I get someone to give me their credit card? Like, you know, we do both. Yes, I need to overcome my fear of leaving my 6-figure job in the corporate world and be a full-time entrepreneur. Michelle, are you already making money from your business? Can you give us a little bit more context? Are you already making money from your business and then you're just trying to be like, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet and leave? I can speak to that. I've quit lots of things. I've done lots of risky things in business. So Michelle, can you just give me more context? And yeah, Diana, overcoming under earning is really going to help you. Like I said, I mean, I really, really used to struggle with it. You know, it took me like 6 or 7 years just because I was so jacked up in the head about money and my own self-worth. And there was a lot of stuff going on there that book was really helpful about. And now, no, I've started a lot and not spent the time to build. Well, Michelle, come join us in Persuade to Profit then. What is it that you coach on? What is it that you coach on, Michelle, or what is it that you're wanting to coach on? That's actually a better question. And Adina, if you have any insights for Diana, because I know you work with people in specific situations while Michelle is answering, I haven't decided on clarity on which direction to take. Okay, literally the first module, and Adina can attest to this, is going to help you with that, Michelle. Because you have to go through a market research phase and you have to get, I coach on, thinking into results. Is that TIR? Thinking into results. Let me know if I got that right. Oh, the lag isn't so bad this time. Sometimes the lag is really bad. Is that thinking into results, Michelle? Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. I love Bob Proctor. I'm actually currently in a program with one of Bob Proctor's direct mentees from like 20 years ago. I love Bob Proctor. I do believe like Adina, how about you speak to this? Because I do talk about mindset a lot, but I would say for me, like I'm very clear with you guys, like mindset matters, but I need you actually doing the damn thing and getting some answers and getting on the phone and getting this money. Like you can't think your way into everything. You have to do stuff. So can you speak to that a little bit? Because I'm familiar with that, Michelle.
Yeah, you're very practical implementation focused, which is really important for me. I'm very tactile like that. And if things are very ambiguous or like heady, I can't grasp it. That's actually something I struggled with in law school a lot. And I've never had that issue working with you. You're very practical oriented, particularly the sales stuff. It's like very much like step by step what you need to do based on what is said. And with the offer creation too, the market research guidance was really, really helpful, and to like get narrowed down on your niche and exactly what you're doing and helping people with.
Yeah, so we like to combine both. And Michelle, with thinking into results, one of the things I would consider, and I think I PM'd you already, so let's set up a time to chat, Michelle. One of the things with thinking into results is I would figure out what your own brand is outside of Bob Proctor, because like Bob Proctor alone is not going to sell this thing. And I don't know how long you've been in thinking into results or what you've done with it or anything, but one of the things, this sounds like it will be perfect for me. It will be, Diana. Go figure it out. Get in here. It will absolutely be perfect. One of the things I would consider, Michelle, is like your own brand outside of thinking into results, and then maybe bringing thinking into results as an element of what you do, but really learning how to brand yourself and coming up with your own specific system. I've talked about this a lot, guys. And I've done, if you want this training, just let me put, I'll think of a word right now, right? But I've done a training for you guys on like what it takes to actually build wealth. And what you need is you need to own your own system, right? You need to own, like in Adina's case, like she's not doing one-on-one work, right? Like she is actually selling a program, right? Like actually, Adina, you couldn't sell private coaching, right? Like it wasn't selling. And then when you created immigrant finance school, it was like, okay, it's selling.
Yeah, and thank goodness I learned from your program early on that that wouldn't have been sustainable to do one-on-one. So I just didn't really waste that much time trying to do it. It was more
Yeah.
my market research. I was trying to like figure out my market, and it sucked doing the private one-on-one coaching too. Like it's really hard to get results for people with that. It takes so much time.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain little magic that happens in groups, but it's also about
Absolutely.
scalability. Anyway, I have like this whole training where I really broke it down on like how to create a $2,000 offering that requires none of your time. So if you want that, just put like a money emoji or something, or just let me just raise your hand and be like, I want the thing, and Xenia can tag you in it. Diane, I think I tagged you in it earlier already, so you have it. But yes, guys, those of you who are doing the Bob Proctor stuff or the Danielle Laporte stuff, or you're like facilitators for somebody else, number one, unfortunately, those things don't teach you how to run a business. They just don't, right? And that's not what they're intended for anyway. But number two, I would figure out how to brand yourself outside of that. It's going to be a lot easier to sell that, right? And the reason it's going to be easier to sell that is because you're going to be so freaking convicted, which again is that thing I cannot sell. I cannot teach you how to be convicted. You have to be convicted about what you do. I can't teach that. Okay, Michelle wants it. So Xenia, if you're here, can you tag Michelle in the the training? It's under the announcements. Okay, Monica's here too. She wants it. So Xenia, if you're, can you tag them? It's under announcements. So I haven't pinned the live that we're on yet. So if you go to announcement, Xenia, and you just like do a drop down, just find the one that's like how to create a $2,000 offer that requires none of your time, and tag Michelle said that, and Monica. Monica, I actually don't know how to say your last name. Is that French? Monfre? Monfre? Did I just butcher your last name, Monica? I apologize. I apologize profusely. Yeah, but I would really consider that, guys. Like the high ticket scalable stuff is basically the way to go, especially when stuff is crazy, because the type, and I've done like whole trainings on this, and I think I cover it in that one. But like if you really want to build wealth, you need to own a system. Stop selling other people's systems and just go create your own. And it's something you need to have, something you could be selling every day. I can get on the phone and sell Persuade to Profit every day. Adina can get on the phone and sell Immigrant Finance School every freaking day. Diana, I already tagged you in it. Right. Diana, I tagged you in it earlier when I tagged you in like 7 of our trainings. I think it's the first one. I think Diana, when I tagged you, I was like, hey, this is the training I was talking about. You did, it's French, but used to be Italian, silly Ellis Island. I'm Sicilian. Cool. Oh, okay. Diana's just dropping emojis because she wants to be a part of the party. Cool. All right, Diana, definitely go check that one out. But guys, like, there's no reason you need to be spending all this time on either one-on-one stuff or doing stuff for people. Like I used to be a freelance writer. You just like to emoji. Okay. I used to be a freelance writer. Like at some point, that is not scalable. I used to do one-on-one stuff. At some point, it's not scalable, right? So you have to figure out what your system is and you have to figure out what that process is. And you need to figure out how to create something for your audience that has both a system and transformation. That's what people pay a lot of money for. It's system and transformation. And that is super easy to sell. So a lot of you ask me questions like, how do I attract the high ticket clients? How do I attract people like Adina into my business, basically? And it's that, right? It's system and it's transformation. And people get results. I have to go back and listen to the full live. I jumped in at the end. Absolutely, Michelle, definitely do that. And I'm almost positive I sent you a PM, Michelle. Let me double check. Because I think you were one of the ones who asked for. Wait, did I? No, maybe I didn't. No, Michelle, I didn't. So Michelle, I'm gonna PM you right now because I can definitely help you. I'm very familiar with thinking into results and I want to talk about it. So I'm gonna PM you when you're done here, when we're done here, and then we can set up a time to chat and stuff. But like you could I mean, I have left a job. It wasn't a six-figure job, right? But I have left a job to pursue what I truly wanted to do. And the thing is, like, and Adina knows because we're both in finance, right? Or I was in finance before I was doing this stuff, and Adina is still in that space. Guys, like you could lose your job next week. Okay. Like if the last year has taught you anything, is like nothing is set in stone, nothing is secure. The reason people are afraid of leaving jobs to go off and do their thing on their own, not that I would say, hey, like quit without a plan. I'm not saying that. Have a plan, right? Figure out what your moves are, figure out what it is that you want to do, right? So I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that people cling on to things out of a false sense of security that doesn't actually exist. That's really what I'm saying, right? And we've had clients take Persuade to Profit, like Kelsey's coming to mind. Kelsey's one of our clients who, like, she started making 5 figures on the side of her job, right? And then that's when she quit a job. Yeah, jobs are not afraid to lose you, right? They're really not. Like if you're not performing for people, like they will cut you, especially in times like this. And I say it as a former recruiter. Like if you're not performing, you're gone. You're out. Like they don't care because they have to, especially in times like we're in right now when ships are sinking. It's the thought of somewhat of a security. You are so right. Security doesn't exist. Like those of you who are still clinging on to security, like there's 2 things people are clinging on. And Adina, I would love to hear your thoughts on this because you're a very good observer. I don't know if you're seeing this too. I find that people who, first of all, security is not a thing, right? Like, I don't mean to be like morbid, but we could all die tomorrow, right? It's not a thing, it doesn't exist, right? Number 2, it goes back to that idea that I was saying that I feel like people actually cap themselves when they don't learn the skill set that makes money. So like 6 figures in a year at a job and a salary, like I've learned how to make 6 figures in 8 weeks from my business. So you can like literally collapse time, right? Once you actually learn the skill set. Security doesn't come from the job. Security doesn't come from the paycheck. Security comes from your skill set. And the only skill set that ensures that you know how to make money no matter what. And that's what we're getting. Yeses over here. I'm also in NWM. I'm not sure what NWM, and just recently launched a salsa business. Salsa like hot sauce. Okay, I was about to start dancing, right? Your only security comes from your skill set. Okay, your security comes from being able to sell. It's like what Adina was saying earlier. Like there are moments when she's like, "Oh, I can't afford it." Right. And that was based on like fixed income thinking. And you could be at 6 figures and still be like, I can't afford it. Right. But once you learn an actual network marketing, okay, I have something to say about the network marketing too. With the amount of effort that you're going to put into your network marketing business, you might as well just put that effort into your coaching business and you would make a hell of a lot more money a lot faster. I'm just saying. Like you would. And I don't mean, and I'm just throwing stats at you, but network marketing companies have like a 90% failure rate, right? And a lot of times it's because the upline sales training is really shitty. And like, my goal is 100K a week. I'm with you. I'm currently working on 100K a month when we're like halfway there. Right. You're right. You could also get 100% of the profit if you just learned how to sell your own thing, right? 100%. Maybe not 100% because you have business expenses. Like I have people I have to pay, right? But you can at least, it's something you own. It's an asset that's yours, right? And once you learn this skill set of actually making money and sales and you sell something that belongs to you that you created, like I have the trademark for persuade to profit, I have the trademark for make money or honey. Those are assets. That's how you build wealth, right? So with the amount of effort that people put into network marketing companies, you could put that effort into your own business and you would get results a lot faster, particularly with something like coaching, which is transformational, that people are desperate for right now. Like I'm not even kidding, like people have been clamoring down my door for like the last year trying to get them to persuade to profit, or begging for more sales trainings, right? Because people are desperate for this information right now because we're going through a real flux period. Anyway, I went off on a tangent there. Sometimes I like start channeling and like black out. Not in like a bad way, just like I get in a groove and then like I'm just going, like it just comes out. um so Michelle, we can definitely talk. I can help you with that coaching business of yours because I mean, thinking into results is solid, but I would need to learn more about what it is that you're trying to do and what it is you're trying to coach people on in your audience and things like that in order to be able to better direct you. But yeah, no, we could replace that salary. That's not an issue. And like this is what I was trying to say. And then Adina, you can hop in and then we can end it because we've gone over. Your security comes from your skill set. It comes from knowing that you know how to make money no matter what. I can get very ballsy with my investments, to the degree that I will allow myself, because it is about allowing, because I know how to sell. When I hired Xenia, right, who is my first full-time employee, and we just hired a second employee, and I just gave myself a raise and I gave Xenia a raise, right? So talking about resources and using them for good, which is what we were talking about earlier. When I hired Xenia, I had no idea how I was going to pay for her salary. Like there, none, zero. But I did know that I knew how to sell. And Xenia's been with me 2 years, right? 2 years and growing, and she's growing in the company, and she just got a raise and now she's making more money, right? But when I hired her, I didn't know how I was going to pay for her salary or my salary. I just made a decision that I was going to pay myself a good salary. I made a decision that I was worthy of full-time support, and I made a decision that the resources had to show up and I knew how to sell. So like they were going to come from somewhere. I didn't know exactly where, but I knew they were going to show up and I knew how to get it. I knew how to get the money. That's where freedom comes from. That's the real security. It's not how much money you have in the bank. It's not your paycheck. It's not your employer. It's not the government. It's your skill set to acquire resources. So, Adina, if you want to speak to that, since you were acquiring resources in a different way than I was
Mm.
when you first did Persuade to Profit, I think that's a really great place to just put a little bow on it for this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've learned that from you, that that's the only thing you can rely on. I think that I feel probably the most secure I've ever felt now that I see I can actually generate income on my own. And it's something I'm really trying to emphasize to my clients too for their personal finance planning. Like, same idea, you can't rely on a single employer. Like, you've got to figure out how to make money on your own. It's so important. And like I'm not at that level anywhere close to you are in your business, but just like for me it's a huge difference to have a couple extra $1,000 a month like that. Very recently, when I was making very little in my day job, and that was my only income. I started off like in the 40,000s as a nonprofit lawyer, not that long ago. So it's been pretty life changing, and like understanding that it's up to me and I can keep exercising and growing that skill set. I do feel some kind of reassurance going forward that like that's always going to be there to fall back on, and if things don't work out with this business, I could try it in another business, another idea.
Yeah, the skills are transferable. All right. Do we have any final questions? I want to be mindful of everybody's time because we've got a few minutes over. So, do we have any final questions before we put a little bow on it? And yeah, like I said, next week we'll talk about the six-figure launch. We'll talk about the six-figure sales cycle next week. So stay tuned for that. I have lots of lessons. Um, And do we have any final ones? And then while you guys are typing, once again, guys, like Persuade to Profit sells out every damn time. We're starting to enroll for the next live round. A lot of people are like, oh my God, Amanda, it's not starting for like 3 months. I hear you. I understand. You're going to get access to the videos now. So you can start working through the content now. And in addition, as I already mentioned, the thing sells out every damn time. The current iteration, the February class of Persuade to Profit sold out a month in advance. Like this thing sells like hotcakes. And part of what I'm going to do in Persuade to Profit is teach you how to create your own thing that sells, because there's a very specific process and system that I teach you guys to make sure that you're creating something that by the time somebody talks to you, they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need. Yes, that is intentional. There's a process that I move people through, right, to get them to that stage. But yes, that's why we start selling like now. So if it's something you're interested in, PM me, sign up for the complimentary sales strategy session. I think we only have a couple of spots left this week because my calendar is already getting pretty booked up. DM me, find the money, borrow the money, do whatever the hell you have to do. The next live class, which class, Diana? Persuade to Profit or the complimentary training in the Facebook group? Which one? If it's the complimentary training in the Facebook group, we're live every Monday at 4. And I love it because I see new faces every single week. I love this. So every Monday at 4. And then for the next live round of Persuade to Profit, which is where I'm teaching you live and we're actually doing the sales boot camp style, and I'm practicing with you guys on the sales, and I'm training you similar to the way that I trained Adina on how to do sales. We're starting that again. I believe it's in April. So yes, we're starting to enroll now. It will sell out. It sells out every single time. I can only take on a limited amount of people at the time. Okay, Diana, I answered your question. I think there's a lag. It sells out every time. This round sold out a month in advance. We've had, we've had instances where it sells out 2 months in advance, so get in here. This is my first week, but I've received your texts before. Awesome. That means, okay, cool. Awesome to know, Michelle. Awesome. So yes, make sure you're here Mondays at 4. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, let's set up a time to chat. Or if you have any questions about anything I just said, or if you're wondering how to structure all these things and put them together, let's talk about it. Because even if I can't help you right now, maybe I know somebody who can. I can tag you in a free training. There's a lot that can be done. So just like set up the time to chat. And I love to get to know you guys anyway. And it helps us create really good stuff. That's very helpful for you. All right, I think that's it. So I will see you guys here again next week for next week's training, which is all about how to have a 6-figure launch. So it's going to be all about how I made 6 figures in 8 weeks, right? We'll talk about that next week. So make sure to mark that on your calendar now so you do not forget. Michelle, I'm going to send you a quick PM right now to set up a time to chat. Diana, you have a lot of live streams you have to watch because I already tagged you in them. And let me see. Monica, we're going to tag you in that training as well. Okay, I see lots of notifications coming through. All right, I think I got everybody. And for those of you who asked for the replay, we'll be getting the replay to you probably tomorrow, right? All right, guys, thank you, Adina, so much for being here. Oh, one last thing. Tell them where they can find you and listen to your podcast and all those wonderful things.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Immigrant Finance, or our website, immigrantfinance.com. And the podcast is just called Immigrant Finance also. Thank you again for having me. It was a lot of fun to talk to you and share the experience I've had. Hopefully it will help other people join and get support.
Yay. All right. Come join us in Persuade to Profit, guys. We'll see you in the client group. I'll talk to you. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.